Scott has a question here, Bill. Scott from Whistler wants to know, how important is it to get uninsured motorist coverage?
Uninsured motorist coverage?
I think you know a little bit about uninsured motorist coverage. I feel like we've talked about that before.
Might need to get you to explain that term for me. And thank you, Scott, for that question. And no, uninsured motorist coverage is, in my opinion, absolutely the most important insurance that you can have. And so what it does, in simple terms, it sounds complicated, but it's not. If you have automobile insurance coverage, then you can have what's called uninsured / underinsured insurance coverage, which covers you in case the person that causes an accident to you or your family members, that it covers you if they have either no insurance or not enough insurance. And it is absolutely critical to have this coverage. We obviously, I was joking earlier, we preach on this every week. You cannot have enough uninsured motorist coverage. And I see it every day where people, they're in horrible accidents, and the other side either only has the minimum limits of $25,000, or they have zero, or they, whatever the case may be. But if you've been seriously injured or your family member has, then, think about this. If you go to the hospital for a day or two, your medical bills are going to be $25,000, $30,000 if you have a bunch of tests and treatments and things of that nature. And so the coverage is gone like that. And so you need as much insurance as you possibly can. And uninsured motorist coverage is something that you can control. You don't have to, rely on the other person. And it's very inexpensive. Might as well call it what it is. It's cheap compared to liability coverage. So get as much as you can, and absolutely, even if you only have a car that's only worth $1,000 and you have liability only, and you do not want collision on that car, that's fine. But do not waive the uninsured motorist coverage, because I promise you it will come back to help you later if you or any of your family members wind up having an accident down the road.
Because what's the stat, Bill? What is it, like 30-40% of drivers in Alabama don't have insurance? Is that?
Yeah, somewhere between 30 and 35% of all drivers in the state of Alabama have zero coverage. And even though it's required by law. And so, you may ask the question, as, people ask me all the time, well, it's required by law. So, how are people driving around without insurance? Well, people go in, they get their tag, they get their license, things of that nature. They show the DMV their proof of insurance, and then 30 days later, they let their insurance lapse, and so they don't have it. And so this happens to us all the time, where we have a case, we get the accident report, and it'll say, XYZ insurance company. You call them, and then you find out that insurance policy lapsed, 35 days ago. And it happens all the time. And so you don't need to rely, like I said earlier, on other people. You need to make sure that you're covered with your own insurance in case something like that happened.
Do you recommend a certain amount for people? I know when they quote, like for our policies, it seems like what's typically offered as an option for us is like $300,000. And I always say, well, I'll bump it up to $500,000. Is there an amount that you recommend? And I don't know can you go higher than $500,000 in uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage? Is there an amount that you recommend for folks?
Right. Well, and I'm going to get real boring in a hurry, but here's the general rule. Whatever you have in liability coverage, you need to carry the same amount in uninsured motorist coverage. The law will not allow you to carry more in uninsured motorist coverage than you have in liability, but you can carry the same amount. You can match it. And again, the minimum limits in Alabama that they require is $25,000. That's not enough. Okay. You need to have 50 to 100 to 250. And the difference in price is not very much. And so whatever you have in liability, make sure you have the same amount in uninsured motorist coverage. I had a case last week come in, and my people were carrying $100,000 on liability, and it was bad injuries. And come to find out, they only had $25,000 in uninsured motorist coverage. Well, we checked, and they could have had the same amount in uninsured motorist coverage for an extra $52 a year. Not a pay period, not a week, not a month, a year. And so because they didn't pay that extra $52 a year, they are now going to lose out on $75,000 that they would have been entitled to had they had that. So again, the bottom line is whatever you have in liability coverage, make sure you have the same amount in uninsured motorist coverage.